It's the first Steam Next Fest of 2025, and it's been an absolute blast. Every game that I played seemed to bring out their best, striving to impress me with all they had to offer, and believe me, each one had something very special. We collect numerous requests directly from developers seeking game coverage, mainly from indie developers. In addition, we spend a lot of our spare time browsing through the catalog when it rolls around. Our main objective here is to discover unique games that stand out from the rest, focusing on the titles that aren't just the most played games of that week, but great overall. We play and recommend these games so that you don't have to do any of the heavy lifting, because I know just how taxing this search can actually be. If you want to keep in touch about what's new, old, or upcoming, stick around or check the description below for links that can lead you to new findings. We have plenty more to share with you in the future. We have included a comment below linking to every game that might be worth your time. While this list may not include every title that stuck out, remember that I am only one person, so it's not feasible for me to cover over 500 demos alone thoroughly in a single week, as hard as I might try to. If something is missing, I'm more than happy to take a look at it and to add it to the list if it does look interesting. Many indie games are often overlooked in the shadow of others that have gotten their glorious spotlight, so let's help shed some light on these following recommendations, starting with action roguelikes.
Collect experience, bolster your skills, and learn devastating abilities!
Asgard's Fall: Viking Survivors is a highly condensed effort at a sequel to their first game, released back in 2024. It retains many of its earlier components while making the game much more filled out, entertaining, fast-paced, and rewarding in terms of a visual UI and of course the sound effects to keep you playing for hours. It's difficult to say no to games that provide a reasonable amount of stimulation through mindless gameplay.
Slay them all, unlock their ancient knowledge, and absorb their powers. Let your blood be the ink that writes humanity's future.
Conquest Dark is distinctive in that it utilizes the use of high-fidelity characters and enemy models overlaid on top of a highly detailed backdrop, which does bring it all to life. It brings more to the table visually while still offering what we all love to see in most games, and no, it's not because of the additional nudity filter, it's the fact that it offers a plain and simple fun factor when it comes to the gameplay elements. CoreBreaker is a fast-paced, action-packed roguelite platformer designed for quick-play sessions. The goal is simple: to unlock new abilities, upgrades, and powerful weapons as you battle your way through the hordes of robots that have taken over the world where humanity has long become extinct. You'll fight to survive to get stronger with each run and uncover the secrets of a world lost to time. Mice Maze is the only action roguelike I've seen that has a couple of things that are often not popular or interesting to really showcase. That is the combination of a game like Snake, with elements of bullet time mode, in which the game moves as you move, allowing the time to strategize your way through the maze or to play in real time if you want to add that extra challenge. Nautical Survival mixes a genre of the open seas, mission-based expansions, and exploration. You're more likely to choose to venture out into the darkness rather than standing still in search of additional resources and missions so that you may purchase some of the more powerful weapons and upgrades. Whereas with most games of this genre, you're likely to stand still at some specific point, you can't do that here because you have to keep moving, drifting and steering your boat clear of islands, hazards, and of course projectiles. It was a lot of fun while it lasted, and I cannot wait to see more. Scaravan 66 got my attention since it reminded me of the old N64 games like Twisted Metal and Road Rash, but with action roguelike aspects. It's a high-octane car combat shooter in which you drive your vehicle down a highway trying to survive while taking on various demons and creatures fitting the Halloween theme. Aside from the apparent inability to restore lost HP, it was a game that satisfied an itch that lay dormant within me. Shape of Dreams is a pretty entertaining top-down twin-stick shooter that combined co-op in a well-configured way. It was delightful to play solo and felt much better to play with friends. I had a decent amount of fun with what was offered through the demo. Playing more like a MOBA with the ability to swap out all of your skills and upgrades when you wanted to was very neat, offering a ton of customization for every single run. BreathEdge 2 felt like a very ironic and often sarcastically provocative adventure in which you build and create your way across space to help beat an organization. There really wasn't much to the demo, but you can see that the creators put in a lot of effort and creativity into making it stand out with the choices and old school vibe that it had going for it. Despite being annoyed by how quickly the air ran out and the positioning of ore veins, I was eager to see where it all went. If you enjoy sci-fi adventures, it could be worth checking out.
Come on, fry him! Yeah!
I really thought you could get away with this, eh? Wait.
Gothic 1 Remake is getting a lot of heated discussion, especially among long-term fans. It didn't feel great, but I'm hoping this was because it was a demo and it wasn't finished, considering it only showcased a new camp. A lot of the gameplay elements that were in the first are present here. It's worth keeping tabs on considering it was one of the best adventure RPGs to grace the gaming scene back in 2001. My fingers are crossed, but I'm holding out due to my own expectations. Haste Broken Worlds is the game that swept through the event with its fast-paced and heavily engaging soundtracks. It feels like a combination of Neon White and Sonic the Hedgehog with a lot of high-speed racing to make it to the finish line with a high score before being taken out by the end of the universe. Not only does it feel amazing, but it also incorporated some roguelike elements that offer a lot of replayability as you run, fly, and surf over mountains, trying to land those perfect landings to boost your speed to get to the end of the level quickly, and what was showcased with their trailer seemed to offer many other features. You do not want to miss out on this title. Izon, while not the most functional game on the list, stood out for one reason. I could not help but think about Ico, the game created by the same team that developed Shadow of the Colossus. You play as Kyojin, a weapon of mass destruction that finds itself guarding a girl named Chibito who possesses the power of creation. The both of you travel across the world depending on one another, where the world would see them both destroyed. It seemed like it needed some extra polish, but it was headed in the right direction. Kiddo, aside from the apparent main issue with the lower half of the main character fully exposed, was a very enjoyable point-and-click adventure, offering many clever puzzle designs as you help them navigate their house in an attempt to find their dog Spooky, who had gone missing due to their negligence with never taking proper care of them. It was a well-drawn animated experience that was quite humorous. Moroi is quite challenging to describe. It has a twisted, dark sense of humor as you solve puzzles in a prison of hell filled with horrors and grotesque features that, while unsettling at times, really keep you glued to the screen as you make steady progress towards your escape with their help. It's a top-down action adventure that is very bizarre as you try to escape from this nightmarish world. The First Beserker Kazan is a game you do not want to miss out on if you're drawn to anything remotely Souls-like. It's fluid, challenging, and most importantly, downright fun. It takes the Dungeon Fighter online universe and completely brings it to life. While the demo only showcased so much, it hooked me for the entire duration with great story, voice acting, and hopefully much more content to come with the full release.
Balin is finally back. He's got his own video game. The things this fishing rod can do will blow your mind. Venture with Balin one more time into the world of Azeroth.
Nice Day for Fishing is a great fishing game. If you're not familiar with the Epic NPC Man series on YouTube, it's a game centered around an NPC named Balin, who can only say 3 lines. He becomes the main protagonist after every real player in the game gets disconnected from the server, owing to the muggers stealing the source of the connection. You'll follow him on his adventures to becoming the hero of Honeywood one step at a time. Scarecrow was very surprising. It took on a much slower paced storytelling approach that felt very well designed, and then suddenly changed gears, all of a sudden feeling like a mixture of Hotline Miami in terms of gameplay. Playing as Robert, the man for hire at night, and an average Joe during the day, the game compelled me to want to know more about his life and those around him. It was a fascinating approach to a genre.
Leagues above any guard and soldier in the realm. Always ready to charge ahead, never too proud for the smallest of quests. For a knight has to be ready at the best of time. And most certainly at catch them first.
The Knightling was a fantastic open-world adventure that understood precisely what it wanted to be, and also how to approach the player with its wholesome and cute story. It appeared to be inspired by Zelda Breath of the Wild. Aside from the severe side-quest breaking bug that would not fix itself no matter how many times I would reload the game, it had me glued to my seat, eager to experience more, until I ultimately hit the demo limit. If you're really into charming open-world adventures that feel like they know what they want to express, you should definitely check it out. Wheel World caught my interest because I like to ride bikes occasionally, and it brings a lot of peace of mind. But what I didn't expect is how much fun this would actually be. You'll play as Cat, a rider chosen by the biking spirits to help save the universe through modifications of your bike and also the island statues sealed away. It's a chill game with a very basic colorful world, and it was a lot of fun. Saga of Guardians was the only card battler that stood out for me. It is a game where you'll be playing against other players utilizing decks that you build on your own through the booster packs as you fight against one another. You'll never know what they have on their board until you see them, and once you do, you can then make adjustments to your board as you see fit in an attempt to take home the victory with great strategy. Animal Spa is one of the several casual idle simulators that have suddenly blown up as a genre. These games use charming sprites along the bottom of your screen, frequently accompanied by really warm music intended to keep you entertained while working or doing something else in the background. Here you will be managing a bathhouse that cute animals will constantly visit. You will gradually arrange and update your floors and spaces. There isn't much else to it except that it's very lovely. Color a Cube was quite intriguing. It is a voxel puzzle game where you have to match the colored numbers to the blank numbered creature in front of you. It was extremely casual, as I would have preferred to see some additional difficulty like a restriction or even a time mode rather than being able to simply wave the colors over the blank slate until most or all of the colors were filled in. Regardless, I found myself heavily involved with coloring in each image, and I would love to see more of this in the future.
Unlock over 150 different recipes, from mouth-watering lattes to cakes that cats can only dream of. We know that managing a cafe can get busy, letting you focus on your more important daily tasks.
Desktop Cat Cafe, like many of the others in the genre, excels at what it does. It provides a comfortable companionship in the background as you work or perform other tasks. This time it's not pixelated, but rather high resolution, which looks stunning. One issue that I had is that if you didn't follow the tutorial, you would get stuck and incapable of progressing, which was a major letdown. But it was still very cozy. Infinity Cat Project was another idler game that featured cute little kittens helping the player with their typing. This could have been more in line with the recent uptick in background idlers, where it isn't a game but something that plays at the same time that you do other things, like allowing a writer to continue working while making progress. Considering this is a game that has you spelling out words for currency, which you can hire cats to assist you with. While simple, it has a lot of potential if the developer elevates it to the level of static background fun. Jumping Jazz Cats is the sort of game that you choose to play with your friends through online multiplayer shenanigans and mini-games that revolve around platform party gameplay. Playing alone was very enjoyable, but adding a few players will significantly elevate the experience, especially if your group heavily enjoys the company of silly little felines. Loco Moto is a game that I didn't give much thought to. I'm not all that into simulation games or even trains, but something about Loco Moto felt so wholesome and desirable. You mosey and cozy your way around a train as a conductor, making deliveries, offering rides to your passengers, and organizing your routes. You can also customize your train to your liking. It is a single-player game, but this type of role-playing would be greatly appreciated if it was more of a social game with the ability to pick up other players and do more with it because it has so much potential to be so much more fun. Monmusus Girls Auto Battler, yes, is fanservice, but just hear me out. Although it is what it is, a mobile game with attractive monster girls, I actually really love the music and the cute art style, and of course the fact that it wasn't a fully fledged gacha. I did end up playing this for a long time before having to stop myself to continue with the rest of these games on this list. If you're into mobile games, you should definitely check it out, you might get hooked. Tiny Pasture is the third desktop simulator we discovered throughout the event. It's one of the cutest versions, with adorable designs and a clean and clear outline that lets you keep track of them while working and studying in the background. Once again, these games are here to keep you company and to make you feel less alone. The better you care for them, the more variants and colors will be available and accessible over time. Urban Jungle is a type of casual game for those who want to unwind and simply build up a lush forest vegetation around the many different houses and rooms while completing specific quests, earning more currency to give access to higher quality plants, granting you higher scores and allowing you to unlock newer locations sooner. Or you could just stay around in the previous location until everything is perfect. Whisper of the House surprised me not only because it incorporated outstanding visuals with its opening display, which reminded me of the song Honeybee, but because I had no idea I would be playing such an addictively relaxing game about helping others unbox and decorate their homes. Imagine if you took a game like Unpacking and expanded upon it while cranking the factor to 11, it's just that good. Offering plenty of puzzles and secrets in a pixelated world that felt so nostalgic in a way, feeling like a long-forgotten web browser game of the past. If you've been looking to sit back, relax, and play a game far more expansive than Unboxing, this must go on your list, since it was an absolute blast. Solarpunk is comparable to the recently released Aloft, but its design takes a more casual and vivid approach, which helps it stand out even more. You'll manage your farms, animals, and player-created bases as you play with others online as you soar through the skies in your open-world survival crafting journey. Aside from the lengthy tutorial, it looked and performed exceptionally well. Voxile was notable because it uses ray tracing and high-resolution voxel components to bring the world, particularly underwater, to life. It will have online co-op in the future with many other elements, such as the ability to break through the voxel world in pursuit of treasures, quests, and answers to why this world has been overrun by mutations. I'm interested in seeing where this game is headed with a future release. It's a game you'd want to check out if you're remotely interested in games similar to Minecraft. Aethermancer was developed by the same team that brought us the fantastic world of Monster Sanctuary back in 2020. It's one of the very few creature collector games that piqued my interest this time around. While there were a few others, they just didn't have enough going for them to warrant a recommendation. It does appear that they're taking this down a more roguelite path, which may lower the experience in the long run, as many would prefer to be more randomized with quality of life features such as the ability to evolve your creatures rather than cycling through the ones you lose to replace them with a weaker variant you have stored away. It provides excellent turn-based creature collection gameplay that is both tough and also enjoyable. Deck of Haunts was rather interesting. It took the concepts of a deck builder and flipped it upside down. Imagine playing Slay the Spire, but instead of playing the Slayer, you're actually playing the Spire. You're trying to stop humans from going throughout your cursed halls to eventually find your heart and escape to reveal the hidden secrets to the world, which will then strengthen them even more. Using your cards, you will banish, trap, kill, and terrorize those who dare step foot in your manor, all while shaping the labyrinth to your very design. It was a very fresh take on the concept. Lust for Swords is another subgenre of deck builders that has been making more frequent appearances. As you build up your deck, you'll choose a new floor, dealing your deck face down alongside enemies and elements. This setup will force you to strategize which path to take to clear each stage or to backtrack until you eventually succeed. Once you pick up a card, it will have one use, so use it wisely to pave your path.
Fulfill the prophecy and become the legendary hero you were born to be. Death will sweep over the world once more.
DragonKin the Banished can easily be summed up with a simple reference, that being Path of Exile. It has a great story, solid voice acting, and follows the satisfying, mindless hack-and-slash gameplay that I find myself drawn to more than challenging boss fights. While the demo only offered a small taste of what is to come, I enjoyed every minute of the drawn-out tutorials and the few runs that I did play. It left me curious about what the full release has in store, especially since I felt bled dry by many ARPGs as of lately.
You've come to the right place.
Genokids didn't display much of a plot or anything other than their stylized hack-and-slash gameplay. The soundtrack was decent and the gameplay was enjoyable, but streamlined and missing in several areas. What sold me on the game remains unclear. I just found it very enjoyable, especially when the characters were hysterical with one another.
Man, you're being a pain in the ass.
It had fairly decent voice acting, and while it appeared to be lacking a lot of fundamental pieces, it did pique my interest enough to make me want to come back to it when it fully releases.
I am a man who wants it all. Money, power, respect. But do you know what I want most of all? I want Monaco.
Monaco 2 is the sequel to Monaco, in which you would plot out your operations to sneak and swindle your way through locations to pull off the largest heist alone or with your friends. Each crew member brings unique skills to the robbery, ensuring it all goes well. If you're into stealth games, or just looking for a new game to play with your friends, then you should definitely check it out. Eternity Echoes Patient Zero is a survival horror game that allows you to see the abnormalities using your Hex Guard and watch. The DIB is a covert government agency that monitors time travel and supernatural entities to help humanity avoid dangers. The game does contain several jump scares, however, aside from that and a few progressional problems, the demo did show a lot of promise. Labyrinth of the Demon King felt like a mixture of classic Silent Hill games in terms of their visuals and story, with walking upstairs and all of their cutscenes that showcase the eerie demonic era of 14th century Japan, mixed together with dungeon crawling elements that matches the vibe surprisingly well as you traverse the hallways, uncovering many of the surprises, secrets, and quests that you pick up along the way. It's a survival horror that plays surprisingly well, considering it's emulating the old school style of gaming well in the modern era.
I need sailors. Will you give them to me?
Everyone will die.
Static Dread is a Lovecraftian horror that combines it together with the simulation of working the night shift as a lighthouse keeper. Your goal is very simple, but also challenging. You need to keep the light on, lead ships into port, and avoid wandering too far from the light, or else your sanity will take a nosedive. Every single day and night, new visitors will give you suggestions, which you can then accept or deny, but you have to be cautious about who you open a door for. It may be the wrong decision you actually make. We need more games like this. Simple games that are scary and also fun.
I came here seeking answers. For those that remain here, they won't let me have them. If I don't tread lightly, this place will become my prison.
Total Chaos attempts to be scary, but because everything is so slow and predictable, the game is actually more hilarious than frightening. I did like the developer's last game, Turbo Overkill, so I did stay for a while. And the more I played, the more it grew on me. It had a solid plot and good gameplay, but it definitely wasn't a horror. It's still worth checking out if you're in the mood for something resembling horror, but in a less dramatic way.
Did she reject your proposal, lad? Or was it the money that made her sad? Climb to the top, claim fortune's treasure, seize your power, and land forever.
Twisted Towers for some reason gave off a vibe that felt very similar to BioShock. It included many entertaining features and exciting action gameplay, which while lacking in complexity was rather enjoyable to play through until the inevitable conclusion of the demo. I wouldn't describe it as a horror in the sense of jump scares, it just has a creepy atmosphere with entertaining gameplay that keeps you going. Monsterest is a well-designed inn simulator in which you play as a human discovered in the land of monsters. With no means to return home, you are given the opportunity to earn some money, but to do so, you must rebuild the inn with the assistance of those needing a place to rest. You'll make new friends organizing the inn, and never want to leave this quiet and cozy little simulator with its relaxing music and pleasant visual displays. Sugardew Island reminded me of a higher resolution Harvest Moon magical melody. I grew up with farming games, which is why I continue to play them, since they're always so wholesome and fun. Here you will care for the Tree of Harmony, which has become overrun by thorns due to humanity's greed. You'll be accomplishing tasks, creating a shop, and selling your produce to nature's spirits to help bring back life to this forgotten world. Wanderstop was created by the amazing team behind the Stanley Parable. It tells the story of a young and gifted fighter who, after losing, becomes exhausted. Pushing herself ragged, she collapses in the forest on her way to train herself to death. She is found by a stranger and ends up stumbling upon a tea shop where she may relax, decompress, and make some changes to her life. It does take some patience, but it was actually very nice.
Masha, younger maid sister. Guardians, Servants of the Dark.
Guardians, Servants of the Dark is a sequel to the series that pays heavy respects to Castlevania. Following the demon sisters Kirika and Masha, they platform and navigate their way through an action-packed world in an attempt to resurrect our lord. With completely voice-acted Japanese characters in a gorgeous setting, this game is one that any Metroidvania fan would be sore to miss. Beyond the Ice Palace 2 is the reimagined sequel to the 35-year-old original game created for the Commodore 64. I truly enjoyed everything that it had to offer here. The classic vibes were fantastic, and the gameplay was intriguing. If you haven't played the original, but still enjoy Castlevania vibes, then you should definitely check it out. They put a lot of effort into creating something great. Twilight Monk looked to be a beautifully hand-drawn universe inspired by a series of kung fu novels. While not overly impressive, the sprites were an outstanding feature. It was unique and I wanted to explore more of the world, so as I unlocked new locations, defeating enemies as I proceeded through what was available, it was good enough to be something to check out with a future release. Sirocco is the only MOBA that I've played since quitting League of Legends about a year ago. I went in expecting nothing, just another cesspool to rot away in. Surprisingly, I actually enjoyed it, which might be due to my interest in naval themes. It seems similar to League of Legends or any other competitive MOBA, assuming that there wasn't a chat system or griefers. In the first game, I used fundamental knowledge and I actually did pretty well. Even though my squad wasn't that good at objective control, I've repeatedly shoved top until their base was open, after which I slipped away and then back in with a backdoor strategy in AoE, given that you do not have to select a character or a champion, and you can constantly switch between naval ships and skills whenever you want to. This allows you to develop multiple forms of strategies over time, rather than being forced into a single role. It might be worth checking out if you're itching for a new MOBA that isn't just toxicity running rampant or microtransactions eating away at the community, unless they go down the same route at some point. Demon Ties is Brad Studios' newest addition to their platforming series following Beebs and her crew. With their previous games, they focus more on speedrunning and their paper-like aesthetics. Given that this 3D element is new territory for the developers, I can forgive them for not having a perfect grasp on smooth animations. It's exciting to see them stepping up and experimenting with fresh ideas. If they can refine these elements, it's sure to be an enjoyable game upon release. Visually, it already looks fantastic, they just need to push in the right direction. Emberfall was a challenging game to pin down into a single category. It blended platforming, roguelite, and Metroidvania elements into a unique experience. The goal was to escape from a pit by fighting through waves of enemies, unlocking new powers and skills while platforming your way to the top, as you progress to find an escape before the eternal doom washes over you. Loved the design it chose and how difficult it was at first. Shotgun Copman is a thrilling precision platformer where you play as Shotgun Cop on his journey through hell to kill Satan. Although I'm not typically drawn to this genre, the game actually hooked me with its challenging speedrun stages, interesting mechanics, and engaging soundtrack. The mix of underlying memes and stories also added a unique charm that made the experience much more enjoyable. Bakura Planet is the second entry into the beloved series of co-op puzzle-solving adventures and storytelling. If you haven't heard of the first game, it is a unique experience where you and a friend work together through voice chat to help each other solve puzzles and advance the story. It's a story with a darker theme, so it's not as charming and cute as it looks from the outside looking in. A great game to look out for if you're in the mood for some teamwork. Centum is a mind-bending point-and-click puzzler in which you play as a prisoner trying to escape their cell, or maybe you're not. The game keeps you on your toes with unconventional progression intricately woven into the narrative, which creates a unique, eerie sense of dread and fear. While the demo didn't dive too deep into the details, it was intriguing enough to make me want to see more, so definitely check it out. Is This Seat Taken is my new favorite puzzle game. It combines relaxing, cozy vibes and just the right amount of challenge. The goal here is to place people together in cars, buses, and locations to maximize their happiness based on their interests. Someone might want to sit next to their best friend, but avoid somebody loud or smelly. Rearrange the puzzle pieces, complete the perfect stage, and continue while soothing music plays in the background. It's a great game to sit back and relax to if you want something calm with some basic underlying story. NekoMancer of Nowhere is a 3D puzzler where you play as the NekoMancer, a spell-slinging cat on a mission to save the Tombstone Tower and free the souls trapped within. I enjoyed the simplicity and design of the game. It has a charm that would be perfect for mobile devices, where you draw on the screen to help the feline navigate platforms and also rooms, all while summoning the dead back to life. The demo left me wanting to experience more, but it was still satisfying enough to recommend. Projekt Dreams utilizes the concept of shadow puppets and puzzle solving. Finding objects around a room that gradually expands, the goal is to match and create shapes cast upon the wall in shadows, unlocking more of the underlying story through the player character's photo album. It was a simple yet enjoyable puzzle experience with a touch of underlying story that nudged you forward as it got more challenging.
I already give everything I've got. Absolutely fascinating.
Telltale Pirate is a mobile game that at first glance looks like one of those annoying fake ad games where the goal of the commercial is to make the game look super easy and to trick you into playing it, with the use of baiting idiocy. Surprisingly, it was a pretty fun puzzler. You help a shipwrecked pirate navigate paths in the fewest turns possible to reach the end with the highest score while helping him track down the treasure stolen by a wild monkey.
Let's go!
Projekt GodHand was one of the few rhythm games that actually held my interest. I've played a handful of other rhythm games, but they just didn't click with me, whether due to the lackluster gameplay or unimpressive annoying blackboard scraping vocals. This game stood out brightly, using 8 keys instead of the usual 4 or 5. The music was fantastic, engaging, and fun to sing along to, feeling a little bit like Vocaloid. If you enjoy rhythm games and are looking for something fresh and exciting, GodHand is likely to scratch that itch.
Shadow looms. Portents foretell of impending doom. Dangers and villains. Sure to confound. As time will not wait, he is coming to determine your fate.
He Is Coming was another title that consumed a lot of my time during Next Fest. It's an addictive, challenging roguelike that requires a lot of strategic thinking and planning, especially when preparing for the upcoming bosses and navigating the world as day turns to night, with monsters closing in on you. The goal is to navigate and fight enemies, collecting gold, while also upgrading your gear with shops and chests to take on the next boss, each requiring a particular approach. Even after playing this game for 5 hours, I still couldn't beat the game, mostly due to RNG, but that didn't stop me from continuing to try. If you're looking for a game that will keep you hooked for hours, definitely check it out.
The goo has arrived, covering everything and everyone in its evil slime. Join Nif Nif on this adventure to clean up the forest through non-violent card battles designed for everyone.
Nif Nif is what you get if you try to introduce a roguelike to an impressionable younger audience. It does this very well by featuring a cute little pig named Nif Nif. They're on a mission to save their friends from an evil, mysterious goo that has taken over their forest. So with the help of Nif Nif and their trusty backpack full of cleaning utensils, they clean up the forest one goo at a time. It was surprisingly well designed and didn't feel like it was overtly designed for babies. It could have done with less slanted text, but I still had a lot of fun with it surprisingly. Worship is a Pikmin-inspired cultist game where you play as a devout zealot to an eldritch god. It's been a while since I played anything Pikmin-related. Your goal is to perform various rituals converting civilians into followers and using them to bring about the world's end. It's a game that's been on my wishlist ever since I heard about it 8 months ago in 2024. The gameplay felt very rustic, especially when casting rituals, and could definitely use some polish.
Too many of us have already mutated, unless someone has already endured this. Oh, let this world burn and bloom.
Chernobyl 2 is a sci-fi survival RPG. If you're unfamiliar with the first game, it revolved around humanity gaining possession of a powerful source due to the meltdown of the Chernobyl plant. This power granted access to a living organism that granted the ability to travel through memories and change the past. To give you a general sense, it had the same feel and atmosphere similar to Metro or even the Stalker series. Since I finished the first, I was happy to check out this entry. While it wasn't as interesting, probably owing to the story's more slowed down focus and how baby smooth everybody looked, I still believe that it could still bring an equally interesting story to the table like they did with the first game.
Before you is Winston Greed.
So, a couple of years back, all roads led me to Saint Monique. That's where everything kicked off.
Deliver at All Costs combines the classic 1959 aesthetic with the chaos you might see with a game like Crazy Taxi, with the fun, absurd elements of Goat Simulator, all wrapped together into a great story about a man down on his luck in need of work. It's hilariously chaotic and annoyingly challenging in an enjoyable and silly way, so definitely check it out if you haven't. Esoteric Ebb is what you get when you blend the elements of Disco Elysium with the visual inspiration from Dark Souls, particularly with their armor designs and character aesthetics. It's a freedom-inspired RPG offering players various choices and multiple endings around their dice rolls and stat checks. Initially, I wasn't feeling the whole Disco Elysium vibe, but it did grow on me as I got deeper into the demo, especially with how fun the story and animations were. It definitely has a lot going for it while feeling fresh and interesting. Fellowship is inspired by World of Warcraft. Even though I don't play that MMO, I could easily recognize designs similar to Night Elves and the Tiger Mounts. It's an online co-op dungeon crawling RPG where you log in and tackle dungeons with random players or friends, all wrapped in a classic style. The gameplay was solid and the bosses were engaging, especially with their unique mechanics. Each class you choose comes with distinctive roles, that being tanks, healers, DPSs, and so on, adding a layer of strategy to the gameplay. If you're looking for something with that World of Warcraft vibe, it definitely is worth checking out. Muffles the Life Sentence was actually a title recommended to me at the last minute. I didn't even spot it on my list. This is why I love sharing recommendations. It's awesome because you'll never know what you'll find. It's a dark humor RPG similar to Lisa. It's hilarious, quirky, and daring in its approach. Your mouth is sewn shut, so you can't speak in a prison designed to remake its inmates according to the crimes that they've committed. This place is full of bizarre and wacky characters as you gather enough manpower and information you need to help everybody escape to freedom. The developers are also a wholesome bunch, really just happy to have anybody stop by and to give their game a fair chance. Nitrogen Omega was one that demanded a lot of change and features. What initially pulled me in was the visual style, which reminded me of Code Lyoko. In this game, you play as a group of kids, each of whom can change depending on who is recruited during your run. The story has permadeath mechanics, and the gameplay revolves around managing battles against mechanized creatures through teamwork and strategy in your own personally built mech suits. It was very stylish and also quite promising. Solasta 2 should not be compared to other more prominent RPGs. Come on now, you're better than that. It's essential to recognize that subgenres exist in every category, and not every game needs to be on the same level as those who have set the bar so damn high. There were some concerns with how the game looked, particularly with how stiff the characters sometimes appeared. However, the gameplay and visual designs were still good enough to say the least. If you're on the lookout for a new RPG, it might be something that catches your interest. Yes, Your Grace Snowfall is a Choices Matter sequel to the original Cinematic Kingdom Management RPG. Your goal here is to make decisions as the king that will either help your kingdom prosper or lead it to ruin. If you're unfamiliar with the original game, they've raised the graphical bar quite a bit, blending high-resolution backgrounds with pixelated sprites. It was a good story-rich experience, and I do hope that this remains the same with this new entry into the series. Contract Rush DxD is a game featuring talented hand-drawn animations that create simple, fun, and action-packed gameplay. The player fights a mixture of demons and other targets assigned to them by the head of the organization that they work for. This colorful and vibrant game brings to life the spirit and community of those who have shaped so many lives over the years, that being Newgrounds. It's something to consider if you're in the mood for something creative and fun. Arashi Gaiden is a turn-based puzzle strategy game where you play as Arashi, a ninja carrying out missions assigned to him. The goal is to carefully plan your strategy, finding the best routes to complete a mission without dying, all while avoiding the traps and other obstacles that would hinder your progression. The visuals were great, and the music perfectly complemented the theme. While the boss fights were drawn out, the gameplay more than made up for this as you dash and carve a path to victory. Chaos Prophecy is your unique strategy city builder that blends deck building and combat with resource management. You must manage your colony's resources and appease your god with upcoming rituals or face the consequences. The more I delved into sacrificing materials for more cards and carefully managing resources, the more I got sucked into this addictive gameplay. It is worth keeping an eye out for this one. Nine Kings is another subgenre of games creeping around in the shadows. It's a city builder with roguelike elements that could go on for forever, but due to the current design, you'll eventually get outscaled and forced to restart. Despite that issue, the gameplay itself is very fun. You'll be building up an army and expanding your base to become stronger, fending off assassins, tanks, mages, and more. Eventually the game does become so overwhelming that you break the game due to the frame rate dropping severely with arrows blotting out the sun. It was hilarious, but it is something that needs to be worked on more. Once polished, it could definitely be a game worth your time. Monster Train 2 had enough changes to help it stand apart from the first. Even though the visual style and core gameplay remain largely the same, it will introduce new cards, clans, artifacts, and a whole new set of mechanics, so if you loved the first game, the sequel is definitely worth checking out. Starless Abyss is a sci-fi deck builder where you command 3 spaceships in a visually spectacular pixelated adventure. Eldritch horrors have invaded the galaxy, and you're here to protect what's left of humanity. It's challenging and extremely fun, as it features a lot of interesting mechanics like the ability to upgrade your ships with powerful augmentations alongside deck building to bring out your full potential.
Oh, they're already fighting. Yeah, looks kinda close. It's some rats or something. Just in time as well. There's another entrance. No. Fuck.
The Deadly Path takes a more time-restricted approach to deck building. The goal is to pave the way for your deities of dread by revealing locations around the board and flipping over cards to uncover their resources. You will occasionally be given minions that can be used with these resources, each with a unique bonus effects and powers. The goal is simple: be fast and efficient and last as long as you can, until you succeed or run out of resources. Machine Mind takes more time than those to open up fully. It's an exploration tower defense game where you use automation, crafting, and base transportation to gather resources, bring them back to base, defend them, and survive. There was a lot of management and juggling resources and combinations, but it was still a lot of fun. Nordhold is a type of tower defense you might be more familiar with. It's pretty basic. You gather resources by managing your town and then placing towers to defend against a following siege of enemies coming your way. It's a bit difficult to say it has a lot going for it since many of the towers were restricted, so you couldn't get the full experience, but it was still challenging and a fun tower defense experience for what was currently available through this demo period. Tempest Tower took a more engaging and hands-on approach to the genre. In this game, you'll be fending off an army of creepers by manually powering up generators and collecting resources through each level while waiting for the primary source to overload and wipe them all out. At times, I did wish for a more hands-off experience. Still, it did offer an excellent approach for anybody interested in actively being a part of the defense rather than sitting on the sidelines. I would really like to see an expansion with multiplayer elements in the future, as it does seem like a really fun game to play with friends. The King is Watching took up the most amount of my time during Steam Next Fest. Looking at the Steam page, it really doesn't sell itself well, but it hooked me for hours despite its lack of flair. You'll spend countless hours planning builds and managing resources to survive the ever-increasing difficulty of incoming waves. Not only was it challenging, but it was also visually pleasing. Everything about this game felt fantastic, and I cannot wait for the full release. The 100-line Last Defense Academy is finally a step in the right direction I was hoping for. While I do love Danganronpa, I definitely was becoming tired of the whole killing game trope. The game shifts gears and embraces a multi-ending turn-based story-rich approach, utilizing everything that made the original series great, well, aside from that ending. It's going to be very expensive, so it might be better to wait for a sale, but the demo currently did sell me on the concept. Am I Nima is a psychological horror game where you piece together words that come to your mind. You don't know who you are due to amnesia or who anybody else is. They're trying to convince you that you are Nima, their daughter, but how can you be so sure that they are even your parents, given how they've been treating you? You'll combine memories and words and you'll get to create your own story as you slowly piece together everything. An excellent game for those who are interested in the more disturbing topics of horror. Strapline is a stunningly gorgeous pixelated visual novel with a lot of personality with a simple goal. You're here to help raise a divine dragon girl who will eat just about everything, even your own house. You have one full year to help fulfill her destiny, to defeat the upcoming catastrophe. Interact with her and the villagers to raise your relationship levels, unlocking better food types to buy daily, helping to strengthen her. The higher the food quality, the better the results she will achieve. Added together with defending the village, it makes for a super wholesome and fun experience, especially with the fact that it has multiple endings based on all of your choices. Monster Prom 4 MonsterCon is just what this series needed, reverting back to the original multiplayer formula that they initially aimed for. It's hilarious and charming, and while the demo did not showcase much content, what was offered gave us a glimpse into what they have in store with their sexy monsters and personality-based dating mechanics. Unfriendly Friends is a slightly gore-filled visual novel with a mix of horror. I can't say much about the game as it didn't showcase a whole lot, only lasting 30 minutes, but I really like the style and format that they went for with their opening trailer and overall aesthetic. She heads off to an abandoned hospital with her friends as she lives through her nightmares, focusing on a multiple-choice narrative. House of the Dead 2 Remake was absolutely hilarious. It reminded me of those classic games that are just so bad they're so good. because of the overly zealous voice acting and the monotone pan-faced responses. The gameplay was fast-paced, responsive, and fun to play through. Even though the demo was only 5 minutes long, it left me craving for more as I was pushed back into my seat, laughing my ass off.
Hope. With each day, we're forced to make unspeakable choices.
Into the Dead or Darkest Days reminded me a lot of This War of Mine, thanks to its base management and survival elements. In this game, you scavenge the world in hopes of surviving the next night. You aim to craft, plan, and keep moving, settling into new houses and fortifications to defend yourself against a zombie outbreak. It had more of a mobile feel, and aside from the clunky combat, it was a decent game. I would have liked to see more of an underlying story to help create a stronger connection between the player and characters, but it's not all that terrible for a zombie game. This wraps up the titles that stood out the most for me during the Steam Next Fest event. Once again, I am just one person. I did play and browse through many other games, but they just did not make the list with their first impressions. It took a lot of effort, but here we are. I hope that I was able to showcase some new and interesting games that may have caught your eye and maybe even convince you to check them out for yourself. If you have any opinions or recommendations, please share them in the comment section below, or if you're an indie developer or a PR representative, you can always contact me via email, Discord, or even through social media. I love working with others, and it's a good way to get my attention with how hard it is to find games lost in the sea of obscurity. So help me help you continue to provide meaningful and concise reviews, and I hope to see you in future videos.